with the bird's eye view. Nice to see you. Come on in and make yourself comfortable. We're about to get started. Welcome to True Colors True Talks. My name is Chandra Stevens Albright. I'm the managing director at True Colors Theater Company, and in layman's terms, that means I do all the boring stuff. So Brandel Jones, who runs this program, is our connectivity director. He works with our artistic director, Jamil Jude, who you'll meet later in the day. And those are the geniuses that come up with the artistic programming that we do. And my team makes sure we have the money to run it. So, yes, very glad to have y'all here. Thank you so much. We want to definitely thank Zucot Gallery. Omari Henderson, if you want to show your face real quick. Omari's family owns Zucot. Yay! Omari is a member of our board. I'd also like to thank Ansley Wine Merchants for providing the libations tonight. So if y'all want to go frequent Ansley Wine Merchants after you leave here, please do. They're a great supporter of ours. Also want to give you a look at Marini Brown, who's right over here. Marini Brown is also a board member. She's with BlackRock, and she's going to be moderating tonight's amazing panel. So I'm not going to introduce the panel, she will, but I want to make sure you knew who she was when she came up here. So now you're going to be in for a treat. When we do these True Talks, what we're trying to do is give space for people to have conversations about important topics in the community. It's not enough to have a play. It really is important for us to have a chance to talk about the themes in that play and have a chance to sort of absorb some of the implications. And that's what this is for. It's not heavy. It's just meant to open up some conversation. So when you do see the play, you have some context. So we're going to have members of the cast come in and perform a scene from Good Bad People, which is by Rachel Lynette. It's right here, the dates. Rachel Lynette is a Yale Drama Award-winning playwright. She's a bad girl. And we're going to have a scene featuring Terry Henry as Miriam, Vianna Black as, I just spaced out her name, it starts with a J, I'll get it in a minute. June, thank you. And Asia Rogers as Audrey. Please welcome our amazing cast of Good Bad People.
Jesus, Audrey, don't use the Lord's name in vain. Why are you hitting me? You don't get dressed.
I just woke up.
Audra Gwendolyn Johnson.
Mom,
You don't have to ask it.
Go on before she starts hitting you for no reason. What even is that?
You bring nothing but trouble. Do you know that?
I'm gonna need you to be more specific.
Have you read this?
No, obviously not. I was asleep.
That reporter that you talked to, she wrote an article in Medium, The Death of Respectability Politics, all about Mary and Camille and you, saying how we were too smart to talk to the police. It's going viral. The university has been calling me all morning. My students have been emailing me. Do you have any idea what you have done?
I guess I should be glad that you still got a printer in your room. They're coming here, beating me with the tablet.
But Mom, I didn't.
Wait, did I say that? I didn't say that. I definitely didn't say it like that.
You said too much.
Mom, I didn't do. Look, there are no direct quotes in here from me. There's a reason this is an online essay and not in the official LA Times, Mom. She had to know that
I called her back.
Mom, I don't want
Lucy Buchanan, I found an office number for her.
What am I supposed to do?
Fix it, June.
At least Mom's out of her room
right now isn't the best. No, I don't want you to come here. Yes, I understand. That's a bit. Ephraim, wait. What did you say? Where are those papers Mom was hitting me with?
I didn't say anything.
Ephraim is freaking out about. Where is it?
My mom has it.
What happened to me not being the only lawyer in the house? How did you think this would play out? That she'd just slip you her number and you could have a pity quickie?
Audra.
Apparently, you said that Mom was too respectable to ask for justice, and that Ephraim was avoiding us?
I definitely didn't say that.
June, I do not have time. That was fast.
Did this man seriously send a car for you?
Oh, yes, apparently.
Well, if he's in the car, he could always just come inside.
June.
Well, my name is Marini Brown. I am one of the board members of True Colors Theater, and I'm so pleased to be here. Can we give another round of applause for that wonderful performance? And Zucot Gallery, beautiful space. Thank you all so much for hosting us. I want to introduce our panelists, but before I do that, I want to encourage you all to get your questions ready. To be ready to engage in this conversation that sits at the intersection of art, culture, and community. And so we will start this conversation together, and then I'll invite you all to join us with your questions. But first, let me introduce our panelists. I'll start with my immediate right and work my way down. Bane Joyner is the co-founder of Atlanta Influences Everything and the previous coordinator for Atlanta's Center for Civic Innovation. Give it up for Bane. Karen Comer-Lowe serves as arts director, educator. She's a national curator and current curator in residence at Spelman College Museum. Karen. Next, we have Dr. Maurice Hobson, who's the Associate Professor of Africana Studies and historian at Georgia State University. He's also the author of The Black Mecca. Round of applause for Maurice. And Ibi Owolabi is the director of Good Bad People and Drama League Stage Directing Fellow. Give it up for Ibi. So as you all see, we have a fabulous panel tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing their thoughts on tonight's conversation. So let's jump right in. Sound good? All right. So I think it's important to make sure that we're all working from the same level of knowledge. Now, we're clear on terms and language. So I'm going to ask Maurice to start by defining respectability politics and share why it may or may not be helpful as it pertains to advancing change in a community. Maurice?
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Don't be shy. So thank you all for the question. Thank you all for this opportunity. This conversation around respectability politics, or the politics of Black respectability, is one that is a hotbed topic right now. And it's a hotbed topic because of how it's been used in the American media today. And the way in which it's been used is not the actual meaning of when it was created. So the creator of the term is a Black woman who's a Harvard professor by the name of Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham. She wrote this book called Righteous Discontent that looked at Black women in Washington, D.C., who really put the gas in the tank for the civil rights movement. What happens with this is the notion of respectability politics was the ways in which Black women forced Black men and took back their respect to make Black men respect them. But how it's often presented in the media today is one that is, seen as being bougie, or is seen as being something that is, nonconformist. And I think that what the term is being mixed up with It's the theory of racial uplift. What racial uplift is a theory or the belief that black materialism will convince white America that most black people are not savages. And so there's this notion amongst the black middle class, it plays out amongst the talented 10th, that states that it's an ethos of self-help that basically demonstrates that if black people can demonstrate to white people that they're not savages, that white people will like them. The truth of the matter is that we've been in this country for almost 247 years and white people haven't liked them. And so I think there's a kind of a conflation of respectability politics in the political arm that is connected to this notion of racial uplift theory in the talented 10.
Thank you for sharing. I love the context behind the use of the term. I'm going to invite any of our other panelists to jump in if they have any perspective they would like to share.
It's great to find out what the term, like how it's been so separated from, because that's something that I think, as somebody who kind of gained knowledge of the term through social media, I think that when you say that, what it's being conflated with is the racial uplift. And I think what our play is dealing with is actually the racial uplift, that theory.
Can you talk about that more, and what other ways does that theme come to life in the play?
So in this play, we're really blessed to see incredibly smart women battle with the unthinkable. And they realize, even though all of them have become, I think that these women were very good at cultivating attention. They were the ones that I think it was like, how do they do it all? They were very much like the good housekeeping type of family. And now they have unwanted attention from media coming into their house, and their response is actually this racial uplift of, why was I not safe? I did everything right. I was going and I was smiling at my coworkers, and I was winning all the awards, and I was becoming Miriam, who you just saw, Terry Henry play Miriam, shout out to her, talks about in the show about how she became a giant in her field. And so we get to see people who thought the answer to attaining safety was success, have to actually grapple with even that is not enough when it comes to Blackness and our relationship to the police.
Thank you for that. We are in Atlanta, and this is home for many of us. Some it's chosen home, some it's home because you were born here. But in November of last year, the GRIO reported that Atlanta has the highest income of inequality among large U.S. cities. I want to know, is Atlanta still the Black Mecca? It's open to anyone who wants to jump in.
I wrote a whole book on it.
Go for it. Go for it.
So this is like the third time today I've talked about this. This is like my third speaking event today. And the interesting thing about it is the book that I wrote is titled The Legend of the Black Mecca. And I named it the legend and not the myth because for every legend there is truth. But we have to figure out what's real and what's embellished. And so, is Atlanta still the Black Mecca? Yes, based on these four things. Black education, the historical black colleges right there, 6 of them. I mean, second to Howard University in the 1910, Atlanta University educated more black people. Black economics, the Sweet Auburn District deemed as the richest Negro street in the world. I mean, Atlanta Life, Fortune 500, all these kind of different things. In the 1940s, you see this kind of rise in black political empowerment and electoral politics with the creation of the Atlanta Negro Voters League as a result of the King v. Chapman court case that outlawed the all-white Georgia primary. And that comes into full fruition in the 1970s with the election of Maynard Holbrook Jackson Jr. And it's Maynard's brilliance as a political figure that then creates the Bureau of Cultural Affairs and takes 1% of sales tax to create experiential art for black folks, for Atlantans, but for black folk. And so the fourth entity is Black expressive culture. We are in a beautiful art venue. We have thespians, we have musicians. I mean, brother was on the keys back here, was playing the music. I thought I was about to fall in love. I didn't know what was gonna happen, you know? And so with all that being said, yes, it's still that. But the issue is that we put so much pressure on Atlanta that when black people come here, they're supposed to succeed. That's a lot of pressure. And it does have the highest income disparities. It has the highest predatory lending practices. It has the highest police brutality issues of the militarization of the police with the creation of the Red Dog Police, the Olympification of Atlanta, the urban renewal and gentrification that displaced hundreds of thousands of low income, no income, indigenous people who are black and move them to Clayton and DeKalb County. So we have some things to work through, but this is a very unique city for black folks and the black experience.
Thank you for that. It's amazing how conversations that you have throughout the day come together. I was at an event speaking with young professionals coming up and serving in Atlanta, and one of the speakers was Doug Shipman, the president of the Atlanta City Council. And somebody asked him, why is Atlanta so unique among other cities? And he mentioned some of what you talked about. Two of the reasons that he called out specifically tied back to the rich black history and the legacy in the city. One being that Atlanta has always been a city of commerce. You think about how it was created with the trains and how commerce has always been at the city, has always been at the table as it pertains to advancing the community. The second is the access to talent being directly in the city, HBCUs and the others. And then the third being the rich black history. And I went to Georgia, so that's no shade at all. And then the third is the rich history, the rich black history of this city. And you can't come here, you can't influence here if you don't acknowledge that. I would love to get, Karen, your perspective on if Atlanta is still the Black Mecca.
In my perspective, from my travels, when I'm speaking to people about Atlanta, what I'm finding in other cities is that there's not the same kind of diversity that we have. I remember being in Denver and wondering why every place I went, people were looking at me and my friends. We were all black, you know. Then I noticed we were the only black people in these places. And so eventually, I got into an Uber and the driver was black, and I said, I've been looking for you, because I didn't see anybody else, you know. And we started to talk, and you know, I said, where are the black intellectuals? She said, we don't have that. And you know, we take for granted black intellectuals. Look at us here, right? And I said, okay, well, where would I find other black people? She said, we have a Juneteenth festival, you can find us there. You know, but there's not the same kind of, you know, we have ratchet, we have intellectual, we have bougie, we have old Atlanta, you know, we have all kinds of black people here. And there are not many cities that have that kind of diversity in blackness. So yes, we're the Mecca.
Thank you. Bame, how about you?
Drink your wine.
So you went to Georgia.
I did.
Man, I went to the Ohio State game, in the Peach Bowl. Mm-hmm. Y'all ever heard Georgia's school anthem? Man, that shit sound like some Civil War Confederate. How you sing that shit?
I don't sing it.
Oh, you see, I went to Jackson State. D.I. love. But I say that to say I'm from the West End, and product of Atlanta Public Schools, and not a product of the AUC. My mentors and had a mentor and a tutor that went there, and I kicked it Freaknik time there. I actually got a chance to see the Fab Five after they lost to North Carolina that last time before they all went to the NBA. They were on a Jeep Wrangler. Jalen Rose had his shirt off. Right in front of Spelman, like right there. I think I might have been 8th, 9th grade. But, you know, real Atlanta, man, like, and from the era of, I guess, Hosea and Maynard and Andy, and in terms of, is it the Black Mecca, I think the brand, at some point, I don't think any mayor wants to be quoted as saying Atlanta is the Black Mecca, because there's a certain type of responsibility. Like once you say it, it could be put in quotation marks. But it has been put out there, I guess, via media in some form. And in Atlanta public schools, as we were going into the Olympics, I was in the 11th grade when the Olympics came. We weren't taught that Atlanta, we kind of knew we were different, that we were a different black, but not really. It wasn't social media. But what we weren't taught was that Atlanta had put out a bat symbol to like black people from other places, that this was that place. And my business partner, Tori, said he's from Connecticut. And he said his mom, when he came out of high school, she put him in the, like Moses in the reed basket and like sent him down to Atlanta like he's just gonna come back Dr. King. But there's this movie called Snow on the Bluff. And Curtis Snow is just as Atlanta as Dr. King. And that's what a lot of folk don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have, they both in some form. And what the Curtis Snow of Atlanta, and what we didn't know that versions of ourselves, so from a Curtis Snow standpoint, we didn't know Big Meech and BMF was coming. And the strip club and the party scene was one way before BMF. Shout out to BMF. But it changed. Everything changed once that type of energy got here. And we was like, okay, this is cool. But damn, you know, between BMF and Ray Lewis, this shit got kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? And they not Atlanta public schools, but they black. Okay, bet. All right, bro, I see you. But why I gotta change my way of life for all these other amazingly dope black people that come here seeking something? We weren't taught that our way of life was gonna change. And I think at this point where we influence everything, but we are also number one in income inequality, we start to learn that it's not an either or city, but more of a yes and city. And we have to figure out how to do that better.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Before we are going to move into the second part of our event with another performance, but I do want to ask the panelists, is open to anyone. You talked a little bit about that amazing story. I would love to hear, have we sacrificed or gained anything by trying to hold on to this title of the Black Mecca?
I bet you won't ask Doug Shipman that question.
I would. You don't know me. I'm from Southwest Atlanta. I would totally do it.
Hey,
I went to Georgia, but let's be clear. Let's be clear.
Doug is my guy. Yo. Damn, Doug.
Anyone want to answer that? Have we sacrificed or gained anything by trying to claim or hold on to the title of the Black Mecca?
I will say, I'll put officially on the record, whatever, Atlanta is the Black art Mecca. 1000%. You know, we don't need a mayor to tell us that. We know that. So I will say, I don't think we as a community are the ones who are in the position of sacrifice or gain. I think the effects of gentrification on Atlanta are truly the things that are taking from us in terms of like the Black Mecca. I was in Poughkeepsie, New York this summer, and I told them I was from Atlanta, and every young Black artist said, "Oh, I'm moving there." Like that is where they thought of this. They don't think of the Hollywood at this point. They think of Atlanta as, I'm gonna start my acting career. I'm gonna go down and get on sets and stuff like that. That's so thrilling to me. I can't tell them that they probably can't afford rent when they get there. It's gonna be them and 6 homies in a place. But but it's so weird to have to say that about a place that I grew up in, but that's very much the case, I think. So not rejecting your question at all, but I think that an outer force is absolutely kind of part of our definition of the Black Mecca.
Do you want to add to that,
Yeah,
Maurice?
let me go ahead and put this out there. I'm not from Atlanta, but that don't mean I don't like Atlanta. I mean, I live here. I've contributed to the city, and I'm super duper real Black. So I'm Southern as they come, 10 generations, whatever. But I want to put a spin on this. The thing that attracted the bat signal that Bain referenced that was sent out was when Maynard Jackson made 35% of all city contracts and gave them to minority contractors, Black contractors at the time. That attracted every Black entrepreneur in the Black world, from Nigeria to Ghana, Detroit, Chicago, everywhere else, BMF. Check out the docuseries. I was chief historian for that. We do all of this kind of work, right? But this is what I want to do. I'm going to put a spin on this right now. When Maynard Jackson was in office, Black people were so proud in Atlanta, and rightfully so. But then the Atlanta child murders took place. And a part of the critique of Maynard, if you look at Maynard's record, there were 5 things that Maynard did that made him exemplary. There were 2 things that people questioned. One was the firing of the sanitation workers in 1977, and one is the perceived mishandling of the Atlanta child murders, the episode known as the Atlanta child murders. And a part of it was, there's a longer story to this, but just to give you the quick and dirty. Maynard, it took him a year to admit that there was a serial killer killing the most vulnerable and violent children in the city. And the reason is that whole conversation around racial uplift or respectability politics is that, there's, if in the Black community, how we often see something on the news, if y'all are paying attention to what's going on in Newport News and this 6-year-old who shot the teacher, everybody in the Black community is like, I hope this kid ain't Black. Like we have this whole thing that we're all saying, right? The reason is when Maynard becomes mayor and these murders are taking place, it was kind of hidden because they didn't want a Black mark on this Black mayor because Atlanta was the Black Mecca. So there's a perception that a particular group of vulnerable folks in the community were susceptible to be thrown under the bus to maintain the Black Mecca image instead of it actually being a place where Black people were protected. And so the thing about it is, sometimes when we put so much stock to hold on to titles and different things, the masses miss out on it. And I'll say this publicly, I think it's unfair that Atlanta gets the pressure of the Black Mecca because it doesn't allow for the human beings in Atlanta to be humans.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So yes, and Atlanta is just like this mixture of life in general. Past, like you learn from your past, and then your present, and you give thanks to be present. Like I give thanks that I'm present right now. But I identify as like a futurist, like a disruptor, so I'm always thinking about tomorrow. And so like what Maynard did in that era, it helped. Atlanta's a hotbed of fertile soil and wet concrete, more than a lot of other places in the US that have more infrastructure. So what we have over infrastructure per se is fertile soil and wet concrete, but which allows for freedom of expression. But the number one in income inequality. So the arts, we're this place for the arts, but the state as a whole is like number 49 in arts funding. The city of Atlanta is weird when it comes to funding arts, and that's from the public sector standpoint. We trying to work through it. But then the private sector, like, okay, where's the money coming from? And in terms of the income inequality, that's jobs and housing and workforce. So we know housing is going up, but is the living wage going up? And all creatives, it could seem that they're entrepreneurs, but my guy Brandel back there is a arts administrator. He consults, but also 9 to 5 as an arts. That is a job. And when I came out of school, my mama and like most parents, you got to get a job and you got to pay some bills. And this whole starving artist, man, that shit ain't cool. Like it might have used to be cool, like in some Basquiat days, man, that shit is not cool, yo. And like bills got to be paid. And this is not a place where you finna move here and you think you just finna like make some money doing some art. Okay. All right. And I just got a car last year, man. So my demeanor is still, I come off martyr. So my demeanor kind of still savage. I got like martyr water boy in me. It ain't all the way, for real. So that's what I know. And so from a workforce, like if you're gonna be a creative director or a UX designer, where's the workforce? So we don't have, there's no you moving here, but ain't no infrastructure. So I hope you got your Wild West hat on. You know what I mean? Your metaverse chat GPT, because City of Atlanta ain't finna help you get shit, my G, for real. We don't have no infrastructure, ain't no jobs, you know what I'm saying? Now, you have newer companies here, but from a public school standpoint, K through 12, you are not going to come out of Mays, Doug, right now, today, Darrell, Redan, McNair, and go get you a job over at Trilith and work for Marvel. How you gonna do that? There's no infrastructure. So we influence everything, but we haven't figured out how to leverage the influence to create workforce and economic development. From the influence is worth something. Yep. So you should be able to leverage it for something.
Thank you. I'm gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna start from there after this next performance. I want to welcome a performance inspired by the play Good Bad People. It's an original poem written and performed by nationally awarded spoken word artist Adon Bean. Round of applause.
Hey. Y'all doing all right? Can y'all hear me? Can everybody? Is this a good place to stand? Okay, that's what's up. I feel weird standing in front of like y'all, but there it is. It's so good to be here. And I want to get back to this important conversation that has been going on. As she said, my name is Adon Bean. I'm a spoken word artist. I'm a writer. I will write poems, songs, ransom note if you need it, whatever you need, I got you. But I'm real happy to be here. And I spent some time reading this wonderful play, Good Bad People, and I'm really excited to see it come to life. At the source of it, if you do not know, at the source of it is, of course, this family, but of course it's dealing with this death, this premature death of a young black man. And one of the things that stuck out to me when I read it was this line that I think the protagonist says, June, where she says, our only responsibility right now is to survive this, right? Like not put on airs, not try to make this look good. It's like our only responsibility right now is to survive this. And it forced me to reckon with like kind of the things in my life where like I couldn't think about flourishing or thriving. I was just thinking about surviving. I don't know if any of y'all, I'm talking to me, that's fine. But like when I was just trying to like survive something, you know? And like too many young black men, like kind of our rites of passage oftentimes is with law enforcement, right? That's the thing that tells us that we've moved from boyhood to manhood. And so I wrote a poem that deals with this idea. And can y'all hear me like this? Or should I like shout like that? There it is. That's what I like to hear. Thank you so much. It goes like this. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And so was my dark ebony skin on the surface of that street. Chocolate cheek face down on the concrete padded from the waist down, a cop's knee in my spine, ironically, as he called for backup. I dare not make a sound. Now, the officer said this was routine. I believed him because this was not some new thing. Plenty of brown faces had found their home on the pavement, and this was my turn. So I pray that the concrete does not become my urn. Burned to ash by the bias of a badge. A son is looking at his dad, and I want to tell him that he can grow up to be more than a hashtag, more than a means to march, more than a grief remembered in the heart, more than a deceased matter that is dark. God, let there be light. Because see, the boys in blue, they will Roy G. Biv you. Have you tasted the rainbow with Skittles and iced tea? Society will write in bold Times New Roman that you were no angel in your obituary. They will George Floyd your flesh. Breonna Taylor your place of rest. place a taser to your flesh, and place you under Keenan Anderson cardiac arrest. They will Tamir Rice your children at a pavilion. Sean Bell your future spouse. The belly of the beast will feast on you despite the Sandra Bland taste your skin leaves in its mouth. And when you are not afforded a process that is due, shouting some quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates won't save you. Plus, there are those who will all lives matter you, and you know you're one of those good, bad people that this should not happen to. Black and blue. What does a man with my hue have to do in order to survive an encounter with you? That officer, he let up. He offered no apology, but he said I could get up. He said, go about your day and stay out of trouble with an unfriendly smile, and I'm left piecing back the remnants of my dignity in front of my only child. And as I drove home that night, I tried not to let my heart harden, knowing that this is what happens when marginalized people refuse to stay in the margins. Thank you very much. My name is Adon Boone.
Go ahead. It sounds like we have a request for a second performance.
Y'all still good? All right, cool. If y'all was annoyed of me, I was just about to bounce out. But I appreciate y'all. My brother just asked for this poem, and it's one that I tend to do a lot when I talk about this city of Atlanta and the kind of just the interesting thing that it is. And so this is a love letter, but I love this place. I love it like James Baldwin, right? Like it gives me, I have a perpetual right to criticize it. So we'll say it like this. This is called The South Got Something to Say. We have gathered in this place, all unfamiliar but family, all distant but unified. This is an art church service invocation that has been designed for you and I. This has been written to the tune of Dirty South, to Goody Mob's Fly Away, to A Midnight Train to Georgia. This is a companion piece that has been written by Pearl Clegg. Long before Andre 3000 told a crowd in New York that the South has got something to say, you could hear our cries rise from deep within this red clay. This has been directed by Kenny Leon, choreographed by T. Lang, or Gawaiian Mata drums squalling, captured on canvas by Dr. Fahamu Peku, or Charmaine Minifield, or Fabian Williams. This city is a siren for the arts, and so many of us have answered its calling. This is all okra and sweet tea, banana pudding and peach trees. We provide the soundtrack to any function, even if that junction is spaghetti. Confederacy Memorial Mountains and mayors named Dre and Keisha. Also a mayor named John who would strum his guitar in front of those Eddie's Attic bleachers. Home of our king, the preacher, the thinker, the dreamer, the remarkable civil rights legacy. We even Habitat for Humanity, right? Like we peanut farmered the presidency. This was produced using a 30% film tax incentive. This is lemon pepper wetted. Waffle housed at every exit. Home of the forever inventive, it is a simple glaring fact. Our content has been soaked in the cuisines of Busy Bees and The Beautiful and Mary Max and Fat Mats and Miss Ann's Snack Bar, no counterlean. And this was actually constructed during a 3-hour wait in line at Slutty Vegan. But see, when a city that is too busy to hate somehow starts to find the time, when gentrification can become an act of violence and no one is listening to the victims of the crime, where you can judge a society by how it treats its least, as it is often said, I have seen stranger things here than The Walking Dead. We are a city experiencing growing pains, expansion, and border shifts will court companies like Amazon or law enforcement and ironically be willing to destroy a forest in order to headquarter it. But see, try as they might, they cannot condo our culture to death. They cannot beltline our brilliance. They can't Marie Kondo our indigent community, that is, tidy up the house list for a 2019 Super Bowl and then try to leverage our current identity for some future soul. Hell no. This is ATL, ho. Home of the artisan and the educator, the athlete, the author, the painter, the innovator, the culinary chef and the curator, the politician, the preacher, the grassroots activist, the organizer, the leader, the scientist, the celebrity, the farmer, the speaker. It is also home of the kids fundraising, and you're not really sure if they're part of a team, but they had every stoplight and off-ramp. Right? Like, this is for every native. This is for the Grady babies, right? This is for all of us transplants. This is Olympics 96. LaFace Records. So Deaf billboards. Back when Apache Cafe was yin yang. Even then, my friend, we did the damn thing. Like, Atlanta truly influences everything. They branded it so you don't forget it. Because see, we focus on creating the culture, not the credit. It is embedded in the root. We do the work. They pluck the fruit, but the entire world knows where to go if and when they want the juice, the sauce. We are the dispatchers of the drip, the high priest of the hip. Whether behind the pen, the brush, or the lens, they come to Atlanta when they want the real shit. There's something about this place that makes it safe. With the creative endeavor, it is fertile soil for the imaginative and the experimental. It honors the effort. We house Hammonds and Wonderlands and Hollyweirds and Cities of Ink and Stanconias. We not at all New York. We not trying to be California. We are south of the north, but yet we north of the south. We are a city out of nowhere that is everywhere if you just look around. Our DNA has made its way to every nook, cranny, corner, marketing meeting, boardroom, and block. We been had something to say. And the entire world's been watching and listening, whether they admit it or not. The South has got something to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our panelists. I would love to hear your reaction to what you just heard. A lot of context, a lot of history, a lot of richness. We'll love your reaction. Karen, we'll start with you. Yeah.
It was, I'm speechless because it was really, it was truly Atlanta, about Atlanta, from Atlanta, through Atlanta. He covered everything except for Migos. I didn't hear Migos, but he covered those aspects of us and what makes us us. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You're looking straight at me, so I feel like it's me. I think that the first thing that I thought about was how incredibly grateful I am that Good Bad People gets to happen in Atlanta, Georgia. I love that we got to welcome a Black playwright from outside of our city to see what it means to be loved and cultivated as a Black artist. Granted, she doesn't know about our rent things and stuff, so we, maybe we'll tell her at the end. But I think that being able to be cultivated in that way and to know that we have people like this in our city who show what it means to love this city as an artist, it just really, I've just been sitting here feeling very grateful. I heard the first piece, and then we got the treat of the second piece. And I really got to remember that we get to bring the world premiere of Good Bad People to Atlanta, Georgia. So
Thank you. Let's stay there. Why is this story important to tell right now?
This is obviously a conversation that brings up great emotional investment for everyone. There's no one who is not touched by this idea of racial uplift. Am I saying that right? Racial uplift. Okay, yeah, but like the street version of respectability politics. And I think that this is a conversation. I think about the fact that like the police are not this fictional boogeyman for the Black community. Every single day is unpredictable in how we will interact with the boys in blue. And so you get a story like this one, and you see those people on stage and you know them. You either went to class with them, you were taught by them, maybe they represented you in some way, you saw them at the grocery store. These are not people who don't exist outside of our lives, and they are dealing with something that we all wish would never happen to us. And I think the conversation about Black success is so different in Atlanta that I cannot wait for people to see the show and see what kind of conversations are evoked. I love staying in the out in the lobby after the show and hearing what kind of conversations were popping up after seeing something like this. So I think that's why Good Bad People happening here, getting to be as specific as possible and speak directly to an inter-community conversation and not explaining to people who don't look like us, is why I think there's just so much. There's so many elements of this that make me really excited.
Thank you. Anyone else before I move us forward? Anyone want to jump in with their reaction to the poem we just heard?
All Black everything. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this. And I've lived in multiple places and done different things. And the interesting thing about Atlanta is it's a space for creation. I am a professor of history. And I'm in the academy, but not of it. So I am not steeped in the tradition of, let's eat cheese and drink wine and talk about, like, that's not what it is. It was just a means to an end. And if you want to see something interesting, if you Google All Black Everything, the TV show Atlanta, and put my name in there, it tells a story about how when the TV show Atlanta debuted, the interesting thing about the TV show is it was all Black everything. Because the notion of Atlanta as a Black Mecca, the notion of W.E.B. Du Bois's double consciousness that he created right over here in Gaines and Fountain Hall at Atlanta University in 1903, it is all still in the midst of whiteness. So the Black Mecca is a byproduct of good race relations of white business elite. And I'm not here talking anti-anyone, but when the TV show Atlanta debuts, it was so centered on Blackness that white people and even the Black upper and middle class was just kind of like, I don't understand what's going on. And I was like, that's because it's all Black. Everything with an A. I put that twang on it. And so the poem, the way in which the brother was able to move through that and bring in civil rights and civil war and swing it back and forth to conversations around, not only popular culture, but Big Mama and them. Yeah. The wine, and nobody's tripping on anybody here because it takes all of that to create a space where Black people can produce.
Thank you. What I'm hearing at the center of this is passion and love, but stories. And we're talking about the power of storytelling. We heard that today with Adon and his pieces. We talked about Atlanta, and we've also talked about Good Bad People. I would love to hear from the panelists. Let's talk about the role of storytelling in helping to advance or preserve culture. Anyone have any perspective on that?
With the work that I do, I present stories through visual art. And at the core of, we're working on Black American Portraits, save the date for June 10th. It opens, and it's extraordinary. The first presentation of it was at LACMA, the Los Angeles County Museum. So we're bringing that to Spelman College Museum. But it's stories, and it's our stories through Black portraiture over 100 years of Black portraiture. And so the earliest piece that we have is from the 1700s. My math might be off, but the earliest piece is from the 1700s. But through that visual art made by other people, as a curator, it's our responsibility to create stories. And that's what we do.
Thank you. Tonight we have heard pieces. We've talked a little bit about history. We've been moved a little. Now I want to make sure that we all leave here with something to do. We've all been inspired to go back and do something based on what we've heard. So Bane, what's the call to action for tonight's attendees?
I guess roll up sleeves. I partake, if y'all know what that means. So my dad told me, if you partake in things, you got to put a date on the calendar to look like, you're actually doing the work. And so July 2026, the World Cup will be right up the street. And I don't know how many of us in here got a chance to do the Olympics and the World Cup. I was in 11th grade when the Olympics came, and there were certain families who were just in position. Parking lot attendant, Olympics came, they built the parking lot attendant empire. Like it just went, And so there's just room for everybody to tap in now to kind of build your own legacy as the world comes to our doorstep in about 3 years. But the dope part about you building your legacy here and Atlanta being a yes and city is that if you do it correctly, it best works through collaboration, and cross-culture, cross-sector collaboration should allow for kind of everybody to eat when the world comes. Because if it's Ghana versus Sweden, they don't know that, Jabari from Lithonia and I'm from the Swats and we don't really rock with the East Side. They don't we just all Atlanta, black, white, or whatever. I'm from Sweden. I don't know who y'all are. I'm here, what's popping? I heard about Magic City. So we have to be ready to answer that question and tap in. And there's a lot of work to do right now that by the time it's gone, that work that you use to tap into the World Cup actually is infrastructure building. That long after that game is gone, we have built some sort of infrastructure that allows, we're around the corner from the Russell Center, and Jay Bailey at the Russell Center. I'll end with this quote he always says of, put yourself in position to plant seeds that grow into trees under whose shade you might not ever sit under. And Atlanta's the best place to do that. So
Thank you. Thank you. We're almost done with our panel discussion, but I want to ask someone from the audience to close us out. Anyone have a question for our panelists? Yes, I see one. If you would stand, please, and ask your question.
Good evening. I think this has been a very provoking panel discussion. I am a native of Atlanta, born and raised about 10 minutes away from here off Stewart Avenue. In my opinion, I think one of the unique things about Atlanta, at least old Atlanta growing up, is that the key word that you've been mentioning is infrastructure. And growing up in the 80s and the 90s, there was an infrastructure that created community. People from all over may have gone to different public schools, private schools, but we all knew each other because of the extracurricular activities that we were involved in. So, one of the unique things about growing up Black in Atlanta was we did everything that white people did. We played basketball, tennis, golf. That was just normal because we had those activities. Adams Park had the Negro League baseball team. They had 5 teams for every age group. Johnny White Park, all these different things. But those things don't exist anymore. So what would it take for a city to put that type of infrastructure back in place to create that sense of community that the city had? I mean, that's why we're so proud of our neighborhoods and where we're from. I don't rock with the East Side because in the 80s and the 90s, if you weren't from the East Side, you had no business over there. Ain't nothing but houses out there, so we weren't going out there. They were coming to us. And so I think, when it comes to the arts, the sense of community, the sense of pride that, Atlanta was able to foster in the 80s and the 90s, that infrastructure is no longer there. So what will it take for us to be able to get that back in place?
Who wants to jump in?
So Bame and I kind of do a lot of interacting with a lot of different kind of folk, and we like a two-headed dog. So we work it out. So there's the Dutch consulate, the French consulate, the Belgian consulate. They all come to Atlanta, and they would be like, "Hey, we want you to kind of be a part of us to kind of do all kind of different things." And what Bame was just saying is like, there's the French consulate. There's a guy named David Ruffel. And he believes that everything that the brother just stated, that's still in existence. Like Atlanta is just all good. And again, I'm not from Atlanta, but I grew up coming here, and I've seriously done the history. So it's like, you got to be clear on what Atlanta you're talking to when you kind of move into the community. And so to think about your question, and I'm thinking politically, I'm thinking about, Atlanta's a place where people vote. And the interesting thing about it is in 1990 and 2000, Atlanta was 67% black. Today it's like 48% black. And where do you think those black people live? South DeKalb. They moved them to South DeKalb, Clayton County, and all kinds of different things. And it's that particular group that saved American democracy in 2020 and 2021, respectively. The low income, no income, the people who they thought would never participate in the American democracy, the whole notion of it, those are the people who voted a president who would uphold democracy, who voted senators that would argue on behalf of Georgians to try to make things right. Didn't work out in terms of where we are in the Gold Dome, and I ain't gonna get too involved in that. But I guess what I'm saying is that we have the infrastructure here. We have to expand our notion of what Atlanta will be, though, because the city as we know it and as we've known it for the last 50 years is under attack. And so we have to organize, we have to create, we have to curate. We have cell phones. Go talk to your neighbors, capture their stories. Eventually, one day, we can curate all of those stories and we can actually tell the story based on what it is.
Thank you for that. I'm going to ask each of our panelists, I'm going to give you some time to think about it. One word. In one word, what does the future hold for Atlanta? We'll start with Bang. One word.
I'm gonna be lame as hell.
Go ahead.
Influence.
Influence. Karen.
Art.
Maurice. Evie.
Joy.
Influence, art, people, and joy. And we'll leave it at that. Round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We will now have Nina Simone's I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, performed by film and theater actor, composer, and producer Christian Magby. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. Oh, okay.
Hot mic.
Okay. Thank you. Do I get to see you? Yeah, that's fine. You can keep that with you for now.
Brando was with that the timekeeper. We rocking and rolling. Yeah, it was nice film. Yeah. Let me grab that.
About to start.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Cool. Hey, you are killing it, by the way. I hope I am just as great as you are. I am Christian Magby. I am thrilled to be here tonight to be a part of this event. And thanks to True Colors for having me. This is I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free by Nina Simone. I wish I couldn't break all the chains holding me. I wish I couldn't say all the things I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole wide world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you would know what it means to be loved. Then you'd see and agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I couldn't do all the things that I could do. And though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea and see I could sing. Then I know how it feels to be free. And look down at the sea and I sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free.
Y'all, please give it up one more time for Mr. Christian Magby. Well, I hope y'all are doing well. My name is Jamil Jude. I have the best job in the American theater because I'm the artistic director at True Colors Theater Company. And just on behalf of everybody on staff, I just want to say thank you all so very much for coming out. Big shout out to Christian Magby. Shout out to Zucot Gallery for hosting us in this beautiful, beautiful space. They gave me notes to make sure I said all the things I was supposed to say. So I want to, once again, you all, our True Talk series is in conjunction with our main stage shows. This show that we're premiering here on February 14th is called Good Bad People, and today you all saw performances from Terry Henry, Vianna Black, and Asia Rogers. And I'm going to talk over all the black people in the back who are doing the thing that we love that black people do. They're gathering. We are breaking bread and we are fellowshipping, but all the black people under the sound of my voice, if you can, just let me have my voice be heard. Know what I'm saying? Anyway, but just thank you all again to Adon Bean, Christian Magby, and all the artists that you all saw today, Zucot Gallery for hosting, and Ansley Wine Merchants for what we do. Shout out to Multi-Band Studios. They got our sound sounding good. They also are the ones who are going to be doing the sound design for Good Bad People when it premieres here on February 14th. The show is by Rachel Lynette. You know, this what we do. I talk about thriving at the intersection of artistic excellence and civic engagement. And what I mean about that is that True Colors wants to be not just a theater company. We know that you can go anywhere in the city of Atlanta, anywhere in the nation to go and see a good play. But we hope that this is one of the few places where you can go and have a deep conversation about what it means to show up inside of the bodies that you inhabit every day and have to play that game. You know, Paul Laurence Dunbar calls about it, we have to wear that mask, right? And we want to talk about it here, that it's not just something that's fodder for a play, but it's the real lives and real experiences of black people. At True Colors, we celebrate authentic black storytelling, and we hope that you got a little bit of that today. Please come through to see the show, but also to all of our other events. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that we'd have another conversation like this on February 22nd called We Shall Not Be Moved, Fighting for Our Lives, Fighting for Our Stories.
And if the recent case that just happened in Memphis didn't remind us that it doesn't matter what the person on the other side of that blue line looks like, that there's still a threat on Black lives and we still have to continue to show up for one another, I don't know what will. Please, y'all, tickets are on sale to see this dynamic show. It's a world premiere. You all will be the first people, if you buy a ticket, you'll be the first people in the world to witness this dynamic story by Rachel Lynette, an award-winning playwright. Good Bad People, February 14th to the March 12th over at the Southwest Arts Center. We do these events for free, so we do ask oftentimes, just like church, pass the collection plate. You can scan a QR code, or there's a Barry Hunley who's in the back pouring you wine. He would love to take your money so that you can donate to True Colors, or you can use that QR code right there to scan and donate to True Colors. You all, I have the best job, and today reminded me of why I love calling every day True Colors home and why I'm so thankful to be in Atlanta. You all, thank you. Have a great night. I hope you peruse this gallery. Those of you all who are watching on the replay, I hope you get a chance to check out the show. Thank you for showing so much love and support to True Colors. Have a great night.